Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. The world is a cruel and bitter place, and yet we struggle on, clinging to those fleeting moments of joy that are scattered onto our existence like rainbow sprinkles on a turd sandwich. But as goes life, so goes the tech news, besmirched perhaps by discouraging reports of hardware failures, hardware shortages, and hardware fails, but also not without hope for a future when even faster PC hardware comes out so we can talk about it ad nauseum online to distract ourselves from the other horrible stuff going on in the world. That sounds like my kind of future, so join me, won't you, as I recap this week's tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by the Paul's Hardware store on paulshardware.net, the only official source for Paul's Hardware merchandise, tantalizing t-shirts, brilliant beer sets, high-quality hoodies, and more, all featuring the classic thumbscrew for tasteful and refined viewers, or the 8-bit thumbscrew for tasteful and refined viewers who hate curves. New designs are added sporadically and at random, so head over to paulshardware.net and get some of that sweet, sweet merch right now. Or not right now, after you watch the video. Either way. We appear to be at the end of the Q1 2024 PC hardware launch cycle, he said nervously, with the debut of two more AMD Ryzen CPUs for the last gen AM4 platform this week, the 5700X3D and the 5700 with no X or 3D. A more dichotomous pair you could not find in terms of reviews, but let's start with the more positively received 5700X3D, which Steve from Gamers Nexus reviewed, and whoa, let's go back. Joe, can we zoom and enhance on that retail box there?
Yeah, no problem, Paul.
Oh my god. That is clearly not a genuine Ryzen 7 5700X3D box. Wow, I mean, I expected more from Gamers Nexus, so much for journalistic integrity and all. Let's instead check on Hardware Unboxed, where box standards are much higher. That's better. Yep, perfect. That's exactly what we're looking for. So to sum up the good Steve's review, since he clearly actually had the product, the 5700X3D is what you would expect. A 5800X3D with a lower clock speed, providing most of the 3D Vcache gaming benefits of its big brother with a lower $250 price tag, versus the 5800X3D, which goes for about $320 these days. It's an easy recommendation for anyone who is already on AM4 and looking for an in-place upgrade, but new builders can find similar value and performance with a better upgrade path by going for an AM5 build and a Ryzen 7600 or 7600X. Cool. Sounds good, AMD, and we can assume it's a similar story with the 5700, right? A downclocked 5700X, save a few bucks, more choices for AM4 builds? Oh, okay. Actually, no. The 5700 is in reality a cursed abomination of a CPU, brought forth to hoodwink builders, pad AMD's pockets, and forever tarnish the formerly glorious 8-year reputation of the AM4 platform as a whole. Simply put, the Ryzen 5700 is a Ryzen 5700G without the integrated graphics, which means it has all the limitations of the 5700G and none of the benefits. No iGPU, half the cache, and only PCIe 3.0 support in 2024, with the limited cache being the primary reason the $175 Ryzen 5700 is handily beaten in gaming by the $135 Ryzen 5600. And since these are for sale, we can confirm the prices right now on Newegg. $175 for the 5700, $135, actually with $3 off right now, for the 5600, which again, 10+% better in gaming. Or, you know, there's the quite capable and experienced regular old 5800X, which is just $15 more at $190. So to recap, 5700X3D good, 5700 bad. Now leave AM4 alone, AMD, before you do any more damage. What about AMD's AM5 platform though? It's set for a refresh later this year with Zen 5-based Ryzen 9000 series CPUs and a new X870E chipset configuration, according to leaks from Moore's Law is dead. If true, the X870E motherboards will use a 3-chip solution under the hood. They'll still have 2 of the Promontory 21 bridge chips currently used in X670 and X670E boards, but will also add a discrete ASMedia ASM4242 USB 4 host controller for USB 4.0 support, unsurprisingly. Now, mandating USB 4.0 support would be a somewhat sensible way to differentiate the new boards from existing 600 series AM5 offerings, since we do expect current boards to be forward compatible with Ryzen 9000 series CPUs with a BIOS update. USB 4.0 provides 40 gigabits per second of bandwidth, which is pretty awesome, but since motherboard manufacturers will be responsible for integrating the ASMedia USB 4 host controller, it will increase the cost of each unit. High-end X670 and X670E AM5 motherboards are already pretty ridiculously priced, so I would not expect X870E to be much better. Once USB 4.0 expansion cards make it to market, and Asus as well as MSI already have them listed, we'll have a better idea of how much of a markup that USB 4.0 upgrade is worth. Fortunately, all of this is being controlled by a handful of companies who manufacture motherboards, so I'm sure they'll do what's right for the consumer. Now that NVIDIA's RTX 4080 Super has been on the market for a week or two, what's the fallout like? Did everyone listen to the wise and venerable reviewers who were like, this 4080 is not very super? No, no one really did, at least not in the US it seems, where MSRP 4080 Supers appear to be sold out across just about every retailer. Although it's tough to say whether this means people were snapping up the $1,000 GPUs left and right, or if NVIDIA simply didn't have enough of them to go around close to the initial launch. Newegg, for example, seems to only have the MSI Expert model still in stock, which I reviewed by the way, although they have plenty of sold out $999 options as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on the supply to see if this is a temporary shortage or if the 4080 Super is actually just going to be super hard to find. On the plus side though, the downward price pressure applied by the 40 Super launches has caused AMD's RX 7900 XT to continue to drop in price, getting down to $700 and even lower than that with the now expired Amazon coupon option. Still, $700 is $200 off the original MSRP, so by the transitive properties of GPU pricing, it seems like the 7900 XT should be sold out everywhere just like the 4080 Super. It's not, but it is now $100 cheaper than the 4070 Ti Super, making it a much better deal if you're not all about that ray tracing. Speaking of NVIDIA 40 series GPUs, if you have one of those and you are using a CableMod 12VH power adapter, you need to remove it, like ASAP. Because as of Thursday, CableMod has officially recalled all of them, the 1.0 and 1.1 versions, totaling 25,300 units. There is a risk of fire and burning, which is bad for your PC and your nether regions, and according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission recall page that also went live Thursday, there have been 272 incident reports and $74,500 or more in property damage claims. This is an official follow-up to their original announcement of the planned voluntary recall first reported in December 2023, and CableMod has set up a recall landing page which shows all the parts affected, as well as some explanation of what they're doing for customers, and a recall form to fill out if you are one of the unlucky 25,000 plus who purchased one. You'll get the choice of a full refund including shipping or a $60 or €60 CableMod store credit. And while this is a bad situation all around, and I have some sympathy for the folks at CableMod dealing with this, it's a bit disappointing that they're only giving a 1-month window for customers to report if an adapter damaged their GPU. Submit a claim by March 7th, they said on Reddit, and if you don't, I'm not sure how they'll be handling things after that point. Also, they are no longer refunding people for damaged or broken GPUs. They say they will repair them instead, which also sounds like you'd need to send them your broken GPU and then wait for it to be returned to you, which is never a good solution for consumer hardware failure. Ultimately though, this is the result of NVIDIA's choice to mandate the 12VH power connector on all 40 series GPUs, which I think just about everyone will agree was a really bad idea at this point. 8-pin PEG connectors. They do not have a history of burning, melting, or otherwise destroying your GPU. What a glowing endorsement. At last, it's time for Tech Briefs, now available in plaid. PCIe 6.0 has not quite arrived yet, but that didn't stop Nubis Communications and AlphaWave Semi from demoing their new solution that hits 64 gigatransfers per second with a x8 connection using Light. Yes, a fiber optic PCI Express connection without the use of retimers, which means you could have your PC in one room and your video card in another room clear across the house. Okay, this isn't very practical for home use, but for data centers, it opens up a whole new world of AI and machine learning cluster configurations. But I'd still like to see someone use this solution for a remote video card setup, just because it would be silly. Speaking of the future of technology, are you excited for Windows 12? Me neither. So we should all be happy that what many thought was going to be Windows 12, a large OS update slated for release in the fall, is actually being called Windows 11 version 24H2. I know many of you might need some time to process this information and come to terms with it, so just know that you have friends here to support you in this time of upheaval. I should also note that Windows 11 version 24H2 will feature many updates focused on next-gen AI experiences, so that should help you give even fewer fucks about any of this. Is that another earthquake? Speaking of stupid AI stuff, the United States FCC did something that seems like a good idea on Thursday, banning the use of AI-generated voices in robocalls after a recent surge in recordings that mimic the voices of celebrities, political candidates, and even close family members. And while this seems like yet another reason to regularly distrust your phone and the images and sounds it makes, I could not help but wonder why the FCC doesn't just ban robocalls altogether. I think that would be an even better solution. Finally, with Valentine's Day fast approaching, I know many of my viewers have love on their minds, but are perhaps a bit flummoxed when it comes to locating the perfect gift for that special significant other in their life. Don't worry fam, I got you. What gift says, I love you and want to have sex more than pink thermal paste that smells like strawberries? Japan-based Mining Company Limited has released Extreme Mugurisu CWTP-EG4G, a thermal solution complete with waifu packaging just in case your date doesn't show up or never existed in the first place, and since it costs only 980 yen, or about $6.60 US for a 4-gram syringe, you'll have plenty of cash left over for lube, several boxes of tissues, and or a personal inflatable companion to help get you through the night. Just remember though, no matter how delicious the pink strawberry goop smells, you're not actually supposed to eat it. So there you have it guys, tech news for the week, and if you liked it, click that like button, leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and you can check out my store at paulshardware.net for high quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you next week.